Okay, we now turn our factoring skills into a useful skill to help us to solve equations. And it helps us specifically for quadratic equations, which are of the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. It's the x squared that makes this a quadratic equation. Before quadratic equations, we just had the bx plus c. We didn't have the ax squared term, and that was a linear equation. You might notice this looks like mx plus b, y equals mx plus b was your lines. Now, we also make use of the zero product rule, which says when you have two numbers multiplying together to make 0, the only way you can create that 0 is if either the a or the b is the 0 to begin with, or both. So we begin with this first problem. It says solve this equation, and we have something times something equals 0. And using the zero product rule, either the x plus 2 equals the 0, or the x minus 3 equals the 0. That gives us two equations to solve. We can solve the first one by subtracting 2 on each side, and that gives us x equals negative 2. And the second equation we can get solved by adding 3 to both sides of the equation, and we get x equals 3. And we usually write our two solutions with a comma between them. Second problem, also already factored, and we can say x plus 5 equals 0, or 2x minus 3 equals 0. One of those has to be 0 in order for the product to be 0. So we subtract 5 on each side, giving us x equals negative 5. Or we can add 3 to both sides, giving us 2x equals positive 3. Dividing each side by 2, we have a second possible answer of 3/2. And after we've done this enough, we don't like to write all that work. What we eventually start doing is saying, I see a plus 2 in the parentheses, I'm going to change that to a minus 2. I see a minus 3, I change that to a plus 3. I see a plus 5, I change it to a minus 5. I see a minus 3, I change it to a positive 3, but because of that 2 out front, that creates the denominator there with the 3/2. So that's our shortcut way of getting to the answer. When we have a problem like number 3 here, sorry about all my stuff here, we'd say take this 5, change the sign on the 5 to a positive 5, divide the 8 off from out front, and get 5/8. Likewise, change the sign of the 2 to a negative 2, divide off that 7 to get negative 2/7, and there's our two fractional solutions. Now, if it gets a little too messy, looking at something like number 4 sometimes can be confusing. That 1/3 z out front could equal 0, or the z minus 5/8 could equal 0. If it helps you to write the two statements there, a equals 0 or b equals 0, go for it. Here we're going to multiply each side by 3 to clear the fraction. That gives us z equals 0. On the second equation, we're going to add 5/8 to both sides, and there's the positive 5/8 as the second solution. Notice how each of these quadratic equations has had two solutions. You're responsible for looking for two solutions on these problems. Here we go, number 5. Now it's not factored. We need to factor this before we start. And I'm going to do the factoring a little bit quicker because our goal is not to teach you factoring. Our goal here is to focus on the equation solving part of this. So we're going to factor this into x minus 5 times x plus 3, and then, seeing our two parentheses, change the signs within the parentheses to positive 5 and negative 3. Note that these are checkable. I haven't done it yet. I probably should here. 5 can be substituted in. 5 squared is 25. 2 times 5 is 10. 25 minus 10 is 15. Minus 15 is 0. Likewise with negative 3. Square it to positive 9. Negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. 9 plus 6 is 15. Minus 15 equals 0. all of these equations are checkable.